According to the mayor's office in New York, 1.5% of streets this year are filthy compared to only 0.1% of streets back in 2020. These numbers are obviously cherry-picked. There's a lot more than 1.5% of streets in New York that are just filthy. However, I think it is worth paying some attention to the report because it does show that to go from 0.1% of filthy streets in 2020 to 1.5%, that may not seem like a lot, but with how many streets there are in New York, that is a significant amount. And I believe alternate street parking has a lot to do with that increase. We interrupt this broadcast with an ad. This video is sponsored by me. Please watch the end of this video. I really need to get monetized. Thank you. Alternate street parking was implemented in New York City in 1950 because car owners had been leaving their cars on the side of the streets for way too long, which would lead to a lot of trash buildup around the cars, making the streets very dirty.
No cars can be parked on the street between, 9:30 and 11, depending on which day it is, so that the street sweeper can go by.
Now, of course, they don't always clean them, but sometimes they do.
And a lot of these problems that we see today and that the alternate street parking was meant to address stem back to the Commissioner's Plan of 1811. This plan detailed the infamous grid-lined streets that New York City would soon become so known for. This plan, however, had one major flaw: the lack of back alleys. Alleys had become such a great way to utilize trash workers and sanitation workers to take care of the trash by taking it out from in front of the house and moving it to the back, where it could be carefully handled and where people did not come and go from. But New York City did not have the privilege of area that a lot of other cities did at the time. So now trash was forced onto the porches and sidewalks of everyone in the city, which would create the dirty and smelly New York that has become all too recognizable and that is still very similar to what we see today. Now, alternate street parking was a way to address this. They were meant to move cars from one side of the street to the other on certain days and then vice versa on the others. This would allow new mechanized street sweeps, similar to what we see today, to come through and clean up the street and then allow the cars to move back after the period had elapsed. Now, originally, New Yorkers were very upset about this because they were charged in today's dollars about $300 to get their car back if it was parked during a time it was not supposed to be. But today, the tickets are only $65, and there's really not much chance of getting towed as long as you pay the tickets within about a week and a half. On top of that, the cost of tickets over a 4-week period is significantly less than what it would cost to put your car in a garage. So, a lot of New Yorkers have very little incentive to move their car at all. And the problem of drivers not moving their cars at all got even worse after the pandemic.
Alternate side parking has been suspended.
Streets that have multiple alternate street parking days would be cleaned on the last day.
We have to change the status quo on the biggest issues of fairness and justice and right down to the everyday issues, the kitchen table issues, the issues that affect you and your neighborhood on your block.
Due to these suspensions, the streets just got dirtier and dirtier, with trash piling up around the cars, just as it had in 1950 before alternate street parking was even implemented. And so far, the sanitation department hasn't done a great job of recovering from it. But what can we do today to solve some of these issues? Well, there were a few districts in New York that were actually able to improve the health and the sanitation of their streets over the past couple of years. However, they were only able to do so after pumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into their sanitation programs. And a lot of other areas in New York can't afford to do that. So what can those poorer areas and lesser well-off areas do to improve their streets? Well, the leaders of the MTA think they have one solution, as they've been attempting to pass a congestion pricing plan that will charge cars a fixed fee for going south of 60th Street in Manhattan. And this fee, in theory, will lead to less cars being driven around the city, less cars being parked around the city, and therefore, in theory, cleaner streets. A study by the MTA in August of this year showed good signs, stating that they saw anywhere between a 5 to 10% decrease in vehicles entering New York daily. However, these congestion pricing plans don't come without opposition. A few politicians claim that these prices will force cars into the outer borough neighborhoods, increasing pollution and traffic in those areas. Another problem facing proponents of this issue is that these taxes and these tolls will be very problematic for yellow taxi drivers. The cabbies will rack up tolls when taking passengers through the toll zones, and they'll have to pass those increases onto their customers, which will potentially decrease demand for taxis altogether. And that'll further depress the already teetering business. And it would be tough to see them survive much more of a decrease after that. All these issues make the congestion pricing proposal, which is currently being voted on by the board of the MTA, quite controversial. Overall, I'm interested in seeing what the outcome from such a practice could have on the driving habits of the city and then the potential benefit it could have on the cleanliness of the street, but I recognize the major drawbacks such a program could have. And when it comes to cleaning up the streets, I'm not very optimistic in seeing that the only solution that we seem to actually have a chance of passing in the future has so many drawbacks. it's hard to weigh a slight potential at cleaning up the streets at ruining some other people's careers. So overall, this is the problem that New York City finds itself in now. Hey guys, I just wanted to put in a little disclaimer that I know we can't get rid of cars in New York. When I lived in New York City, I drove a car. I had to commute from Midtown to Riverdale in the Bronx to Brooklyn every day. So, it wasn't feasible for me. And I understand that it's the same way for some people. People need cars, but I do also know the pollution and the sanitation issues that cars create. And I wanted to make a little bit of a video about it. But I don't have anything against people that drive cars in the city. I understand people need it. But it is an issue facing us in New York today, and I thought it would make an interesting video. If you guys have anything interesting to say about this, please let me know. I would love to learn, but that's my video. I hope you guys did enjoy. I'm going to be uploading more just kind of random topics, and whether it's political or historical or, city issues or just, whatever obscure topic comes to mind at a certain time that I get interested in, I'm going to make videos about it, and hopefully I can make them entertaining for you guys. But otherwise, thank you guys all for watching. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.